Hello, everyone, and welcome to KAMDI Conversations. I am your host, Tanya Hawley. So happy to be with you all once again on this very special Thursday. And you all know I have a very special guest. You don't know how special, I'm going to tell you in just a minute. But join me in welcoming the jazz legend himself, two-time platinum, four-time gold, Najee. Najee, yay! Hey, no, oh, that's not Najee. You're not supposed to be there, 12.
Here I am. Yeah, you got
Hey,
me
Najee,
backstage.
there
I'm
you are.
here.
DJ 12 be back in a minute, y'all. That was a boo-boo. How are you, Najee?
I'm doing
Welcome.
very well. Thank you. Thank you. How you been?
I
How's
am
everything?
fantastic. You don't know how excited I am to have you. I have been a
Oh, I'm
fan of
honored.
yours for years. Not that many years, but because I'm not that old, but a little bit years.
Not am I.
A little bit. I love your backdrop. I'm seeing your records back there. I see a
Yeah, we got a
two-time
few of them.
platinum, four times gold. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, some of it. There's if you go down and further down back there, you'll see more. But this is all the camera is able to capture. So,
I
you know.
love it.
hmm
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that
you.
with us. Well,
Yeah.
welcome to KAMDI Conversations.
Thank you. Okay.
It is an honor and privilege to have you here.
Oh, I'm
So
honored. Thank you.
I
Truly my
know
pleasure.
you've got a lot going on. You're a busy man. So
Well,
let's
yeah, that's a good thing. We're still
that
alive. We woke up this morning, so I'm building on that.
amen. That
You
is
know.
so true.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I'm going to start this interview off by telling this little story.
Sure.
A long time ago, I lived in Dayton, Ohio,
Okay.
and we had a Dayton Black Cultural Festival,
Okay.
and the main artist was you.
Okay. All
And
right.
I kind of worked that event kind of behind the scenes, but I do PR and all that good stuff. And I asked a friend, I said, could you send this proposal? Could you give this to Najee? He was your limo driver.
Okay.
And he said, yeah. I said, for real, you'll give it to him? He said, yes. I said, okay, good. So he called me back. He told me, he said, I gave it to him. I said, okay, great. I just wanted him to put it in your hands.
Oh,
I didn't know
okay.
what would happen.
Uh-huh.
And one day I was at home and the phone rings. And this gentleman called me and said he was Najee. And he said, thank you so much for sending me that proposal. I appreciate it. I have someone doing this, but I appreciate you taking the time to send that to me.
Oh,
And and that was some years ago, Najee.
right. Yeah.
I'm just saying, a few years ago. But I always remember that. I always was a fan and loved your music.
Thank you.
But that
Appreciate
said a
that.
lot about you because you took the time to call me,
Wow.
and
Well, I'm honored.
I was honored, and that just says so much about you. Not Najee so much the artist, but Najee the person.
Sure.
And
All
I
right.
just
Thank
wanted
you.
to share that because it has stuck with me all these years. And I'm just so honored to have you here to be able to tell you that story and how much it meant to me.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And it's quite an honor. I wish I could remember the experience. I really don't.
That's okay.
But I have trouble remembering what I did last week. So don't take it personal.
I don't take it personal. The most important thing is that you did that and that I remember and how you made me
Oh, that's
feel
good.
about it. So that's
That's
all
good.
that matters. You don't have to remember. I know you come across hundreds and thousands of people throughout your journey. So it's okay. So
Well, thank
I
you.
wanted to start off by telling you that and thank you for that because I'll never forget it. And
Thank you.
I
Thank
held
you.
it close to heart. So I just thought that was awesome. And I was like, oh, I get to tell him thank you for that.
Thank you.
So,
Well, I'm honored. Thank you.
so enough about me and my story. Let's talk about Najee. Okay.
Yes.
So Najee, let's start from the beginning.
hmm
Just take us back just a few years and tell me how this journey started for you. How did you get interested in music? How did you, realize I kind of want to do this? So just how it really got started.
Well, it's a long story, but my mother was probably the biggest ignition start, if you will, of my journey in music because she was an avid listener of music, different kinds of music. And so, I'm sure you've experienced this on Saturday mornings when it's time to clean the house, music is playing. It was an obligation. Everybody had to
Yeah.
chip in and clean. And there was always all kind of music. And when I got to elementary school, my first exposure to the saxophone live was a gentleman who came into our school and demonstrated the saxophone. And he played a song that was on the radio at the time by Stan Getz called Desafinado, which was a famous radio song at that time, Brazilian song. And I said to myself, this is something I want to do, and so that's pretty much where it started. And then throughout my life, just opportunities always presented itself for me to be a part of what I do now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you first?
Let me see. I was five, going on the age of 6. Yeah, when that took place. Yeah, and then that was when I started playing. It wasn't until about junior high school, but just before junior high school, I started playing saxophone and flute. So.
You didn't. But
it started on clarinet first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, so you okay? You left that part out. So you played the clarinet too?
Well, not anymore. I don't.
You did. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you gravitated to sax and then flute in 7th grade, middle school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did one start to dominate soon thereafter, or did you just continue to play both?
Well, when high school came, I also wanted to be a pilot. I grew up in New York City, and where we lived, it was between the two major airports in New York, JFK and LaGuardia. And so I would see planes all the time, and they'd fly over our house and shake up. Back then, planes were very loud, so they shake your house apart. But I wanted to be a pilot, so I went to August Martin High School in Queens, which was an aviation school in our community for young African American students who wanted to be pilots or in the aviation industry. And Russell Simmons was my classmate, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
We were in there until he one day punched a teacher in the face and got kicked out of school. And then we never saw Russell again. But, but the point is we were there. But we had a very, very strong music department. And on one occasion, I was the lead tenor saxophone player in the school band at the age of 15 in the jazz band. And we had a little concert there in our school in the auditorium. And I stood up, took my solo. And after that, all the girls knew my name. So I had no interest in flying planes anymore.
That is so funny.
That's a true story.
That's really funny. I mean, they might have liked you as a pilot too, Najee.
Well, I continued studying on my own, but I did not as a profession or career. I just did it as something I love to do, recreation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, do you fly?
Not anymore. Not since September 11th. I stopped all that.
Oh,
yeah.
So you used to fly yourself. You are a pilot.
I did. Mm-hmm. Used to fly to Van Nuys, one of the most stressful areas of the country you can fly in LAX, between LAX and San Diego and the Bay Area, all of California, Southern California area. So yeah, it used to be fun. And then that tragedy happened. And I was like, you know what, it's time for me to stop. So.
Yeah. That shut it down, huh?
Shut it down, yes.
Okay. I'm glad you held on to the horn, though. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
That's a little safer, it is.
Uh-huh. So absolutely.
That was 15 years old. The girls noticed you. Okay.
Yep.
So what happened after that? After I guess high school, or were you playing in local bands?
Yeah, I was doing all of that. We were very fortunate that we had the late Dr. Billy Taylor come to our school, and he was head of a federally funded program at the time called Jazzmobile in New York, which was on Saturdays up in Harlem at Public School 127. Students like myself from the general school area in New York City could go up there and study with some of the masters, such as Jimmy Heath and Frank Foster, Ernie Wilkins, Dr. Taylor. And when they were in town, and for $5 a year, that's what we did. And I also got to study at the Manhattan School of Music for flute with Harold Jones, who was the first African American to play flute in the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. So I did that as studied lessons with him on flute, and I did the Jazzmobile in Harlem. And then upon leaving high school, I was playing in a local band in New York City called Area Code, and we got hired to go around the world backing up Miss Black America. And so I did that tour at 18 years old. I did my first world tour being in that band, and we played all in Europe and, Central and South America and, bases as far away as Iceland and Greenland, places like that. And so that, and then after that, I toured with Benny King for a summer before I decided to go to school. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you did a lot at a very young age. I mean, seeing international places and traveling and touring. That's awesome. How did you feel about that? How did you feel the first time you were on stage and playing for this audience? What did that make you feel
Oh,
like?
well, I loved it. I mean, I was a kid, 18 years old, and here
Yeah,
we are going to places like Italy and Germany and all over
yeah.
Scotland and Iceland and Greenland and South America, Panama, and all these places we went during that
Wow.
time. And man, I loved it. I mean, I was a kid. So anything that got me out of New York City at that stage of my life was a great thing, because
Oh,
there were other
wow.
options I could have gotten into, but fortunately, that one was
Yes.
that got me out. So
Music was, yes, the
mhm.
scapegoat. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So tell us how I guess the first record deal. Are we going to jump
Mhm.
to that? How that came about, and because I mean, you have so much to your story. I was reading studying the bio, and
Oh,
there's so much we could talk about. But I wanted everybody to know how you got to here first. So,
yeah. Well, I was on tour. My brother and I both. We were in Shaka Khan's band in 1983 on the Ain't Nobody tour, and began a. There was a singer in there named Melissa Morgan. I know you know Melissa Morgan.
I love
Yeah,
Melissa. Yes.
she was signed to a company called Hush Productions in New York,
Hmm.
which at that time represented Freddie Jackson. Melba Moore, the owner of the company, was married to Melba Moore. And when she got signed to Capitol, and she invited me to play on her very first album, a song called "Do You Still Love Me."
Oh,
So
yes.
I did that. And one day when I'm going into the office to pick up a check for the session, Charles Huggins come to me. He says, "Man, I didn't know you played saxophone," because he saw me playing keyboards with the group Change. I don't know if you remember Change. That's
Of
the
course, Luther
yeah,
Vandross.
Luther
Yes.
Vandross came out of that group,
Oh,
and
yes.
so everybody thought I was a keyboard player. And he said, "Man, I didn't know you played sax." I was like, "Yeah, saxophone and flute. Those are my instruments." And he said, "I'm thinking about signing a jazz artist. Would you be interested?" And at the time, I did a demo for Polygram Records, but they weren't interested. And so I brought him the demo tapes, and maybe about a week, 2 weeks later, he called me and said, "Hey, man, I got a record deal for you on EMI Records." Now, EMI and Capitol were merged at that point. EMI
Okay.
was the bigger company
Yes.
globally. And what can I say? We did this collection of demos, which we ended up calling Najee's Theme, and they put it out. And before we knew it, in a few months, we had my first gold record. As you can see, the big one back there. That's my very, very first gold record, and I
Well
like that one.
deserved.
That's why I keep it. And the other ones are tiny behind it underneath, but but that one was the one that really put me on the map. Yeah. So.
Oh,
Mhm.
yes, I was right there with you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I was. Najee's
Yeah.
Thing. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
you mentioned quite a few names. As a matter of fact, Melba Moore will be here next week.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
she'll be,
Yeah.
and we've had Melissa on here. I love Melissa. That's my girlfriend.
Oh yeah, that's my sister, man. We've been through so much together as artists, and over the years, and till this day, we still work together from time to time.
Yes, that's
It's
wonderful.
always
She
a
has
treat
an
when she shows up.
amazing voice.
Oh
Yes,
yes.
still
Mhm.
to this day, I have to say. So shout out to Melissa. And I don't know if I knew you played on that song. If I did, I forgot. So thank
Oh
you for
well, nobody knew who Najee was. I was pretty much at that time in my life just trying to find gigs anywhere I could in New York, and you know, that was one of the many record dates I did back in those days. I played on a lot of dance records, even a couple of rap records back then, Curtis Blow and others. And but that
wow.
one, because her album went gold, it was a big record. And that song, I had maybe a short 8-bar solo, but it got me signed to a major record deal.
That's
What can I
right.
say?
Those
That was the
eight
one that
bars
clicked.
counted.
Yep. Yeah.
That's a good 8 bars, Najee.
Now I'm
Hey,
telling you, hey,
maybe the best 8 bars of your life. How about
yeah,
that?
probably changed my life forever. So
That is wonderful. That's
I
a good
thank Melissa for that, because she was, she always had a good ear for what a horn player should sound like. So,
ah. But there's a good lesson in what you just said for those that are watching. And I'll come back to asking you later, because I always ask for advice for upcoming musicians or artists. And there was a lesson right there in what you said. So those baby steps to get there, even though it was a little bit, it wasn't a
yes,
lot that you played. It was a little bit, but that little bit got you a
yeah,
record deal,
it
basically. So
did. It did.
now
Yeah.
you mentioned 3 instruments. Is there any other instruments you'd like to tell us about, Najee, that we don't know?
No, I mean, I play all the saxophones, as you already know, and then flute. Flute is a major part of what I do. And
Yes.
for during the first couple of albums, I didn't play any flute at all. But during my later years, I decided I'm gonna play more flute on my records, and that's been doing very well.
Yes, I noticed that,
Mhm.
and I paid attention because I used to play the flute.
Oh,
Used
okay, all right.
in the marching band, well,
Oh, me
concert
too.
band flute. Yes, Yes, but saxophone was always my favorite instrument.
Mhm.
But I ended up with the flute for some reason. I don't know. But I stopped a very long time ago. I'll do better just listening to you, Najee, than
Oh, you're very
yeah,
kind. Thank you.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're much better. It's got cobwebs now. During your coming through this music, I'll call it phase, just the journey we're walking on, who
Mhm.
were your influences as far as musicians for both flute and sax, or just in general?
Oh, well, if I had to go specifically by names, I would probably say, putting aside my high school teacher, Mr. David Vetter and Michael Rod and Larry Greenwich, who were our high school teachers. But on the commercial side of people I listened to was like on flute, it was Yusuf Lateef and Hubert Laws. Hubert Laws is one of my
Yeah.
favorite. And on the classical side, it was James Galway. It's one of my definite favorites. And then for saxophone, I mean, it was several. I mean, starting with Joe Henderson. People still say I still have that Joe Henderson
Hmm.
tone. There's a saying that horn player generally has the elements of the first voices he heard. And so growing up as a little kid, my mother would always play the Miles Davis Four and More album, and George Coleman was his tenor saxophone player. And George Coleman could play very fast. I mean, he played fast through the whole album. So in my head, till this day, I have to slow myself down on some songs because I have a tendency to just want to rip through it, which is very impressive for another saxophone player. But the people like you may say, I don't get it, So, but
Thank
that's
you.
still a part of me. Even Joe Henderson, the way he plays, I still approach things that sound still, even though it's become my own. John Coltrane, another one, King Curtis. I heard a lot of him, Junior
Mhm.
Walker on the more commercial end. And then later on, there was Grover, Ronnie Lodge, people like that.
Yes, wonderful.
Mhm.
Now you have traveled all over the world, um,
Yes,
which
with the
is
exception of Australia. I've never been to Australia. So,
that surprises
and
me.
Russia. I've never been to Russia. So,
That doesn't surprise me as much as the Australia.
yes.
And you probably don't want to go to Russia right now anyway,
No, 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 not at all.
but
Yeah, but
Australia, I'm actually surprised you haven't been there.
no, I haven't been there. I've received emails and things like that, from people, and one day may get there, but
I'm sure it'll happen for
mhm,
you. You've been almost everywhere else. I'm sure you'll be there soon enough.
hopefully.
Uh, but do you have the most memorable experience or performance? Do you have one that sticks out?
Ooh, I probably have a lot of them. To narrow it down, that would be kind of difficult because you're talking probably 35, 40 years now of
Yes.
doing what I do. I mean,
Yes.
my first professional gig was in 1973, believe it or not. As a young
Oh,
boy.
wow.
And when I say professional, I mean that's when I first started making money doing it.
Ah,
And it
yes.
started in this is one memorable. My very first professional gig where we made money was in 1973 at a community health center, and the New York City Department of Health was trying to promote condoms in our neighborhood. So, and show you how innocent we were, we walk in and we see all these blown up, what we thought were balloons of different colors, red, blue, all this. And then we think they're balloons and they're actually condoms blown up,
Oh, that is
on the wall. But
funny.
I made $25 for that little performance, and
That's funny.
which was a lot of money for a kid back then,
How
and
old were you, Najee?
oh, I might have been 14, I think,
Oh,
14 or 15.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe
So
15 or 16. I don't remember, but that was the first time I began making money doing what I do. And
I love it.
it was a wonderful feeling.
Oh, I'm sure. Even
Yeah,
though you didn't even know what was going on, really, but it's okay.
yeah, exactly. Didn't have a clue, but
Oh, I love it. I love that story. That is a memorable experience,
oh
and
yeah.
it's kind of funny too.
But
Okay.
some of the most memorable ones I would have to say playing for Nelson Mandela when he was
Mm,
president of South Africa. I
yes.
was invited when he came to the United States on behalf of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton at the time. He had done a tour of the United States, and I got to play for him in Boston. And
Okay.
then I think it might have been a year or a year and a half later, he gave a gift to the nation when he remarried. And so I was part of the delegation that performed over in Johannesburg and Durban,
Mm,
um, alongside Stevie Wonder, Shaka Khan, myself, Kenny Lattimore. But the most memorable part of that trip was the chance to have lunch with him at the presidential residence and speak with him. And he
mm,
was he was such a gracious man. I mean, you felt like you were talking to a friend. You never felt this power over you, like, okay, I am the president of South Africa and blah, 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 blah. He was very gracious and very easy to be around, just like a normal human being. He allowed me to take pictures with him, my brother and I, and so that's probably one of the most memorable. Of course, playing at the White House for Bill Clinton, and being on the campaign. Did he pull out his
instrument to play with you?
Well, at one of the inaugurations that I performed at, alongside Herbie Hancock and Stevie, the press tried to get me to give it to him, but he's a germaphobe. He wouldn't take it, and I wasn't anxious to get it back from him if he did play it. So.
I'm not mad at you for that. As we say that in the day of COVID, yes.
Yes.
Even back then, I don't blame you now.
That's right.
I would have just let him keep the instrument after that. If you could have got another one. So you have named quite a few artists, big names that you have performed with.
Yes.
Is there anyone that you have not done a duet with that you would like to, or worked with, that you would like to work with?
I think Robert Glasper is very interesting to me.
Okay.
I would love to do something with him. Gosh, I love her. The singer Her.
Yes.
Yeah, I love her. Yeah, not to sound redundant with that, but
no, but I got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, I love what she does. So yeah.
I want to go back. You had talked about some of the albums on your wall, and I have to tell you, my favorite to this day, my favorite song from Najee is Gina.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I absolutely will always love Gina. It never gets old for me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. And I know it's from, a little ways back, but I don't care.
Yeah, my ex-wife, yes, for sure.
Yeah, sorry, but I still love the song. Sorry, Najee.
That's okay. Our kids are grown,
Okay, good. But thank you for that song. I just had to put that out there. What album was it on? Was it on
Day by Day was the album.
It was on Day by Day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was telling DJ 12 before we started, I said I intended to pull out my albums and CDs that I have by you, and I forgot to grab them. I do have albums.
Okay.
For those of you watching that know what that is, I got some albums by Najee.
There you go. That's great.
So one last question I want to ask you before I bring in DJ 12 for our mini mix. When did you realize you made it? What was your aha moment like? Wow, I have made it as a musician.
When my exes started trying to take me to court for money.
No, you did not.
No, I'm being real. I mean, you arrived when, everybody's seeing you on TV, and, when people see, back in those days in the 80s, when people see you on TV, they associate that with money, a lot of money. They don't realize you're building a career and there's no money there. But, the minute you show up on the Tonight Show or Good Morning America, it's like, wait a minute,
Oh, that is so funny.
No, but honestly, all jokes aside, I've never had that feeling. I've never had that feeling like I've arrived. No, never had that. It's been evolvement over the years. And every step of where you get to top of one level, you're at the bottom of another. So it's always evolving, and that's always been my life as long as I can remember. It was never okay, I'm here at this platform and everything is just all great and all that. No. There's a lot of struggle with that, and a lot of people associated with my playing in the saxophone, but it has very little to do with that part of it. That's a major part of it. Let me take that back. Mm-hmm. But what people don't understand is the story behind where it got you to. They don't know when I was in college, I was damn near homeless. They don't know,
the story behind the success.
Selling my horns, got a job, and went into banking, and then, decided I wasn't going to do music anymore. And then as fate would have it, I run into an old classmate who was doing bar mitzvahs and stuff like that. And he says to me, hey, man, I haven't seen you in school. I said, oh, man, I quit. I'm going into banking. I'm not going to do music anymore. He's like, what? He said, I don't accept it. I don't accept it.
Wow.
I was like, well, that's what he said. No. I have a saxophone. He played piano. I have a saxophone. Meet me here tomorrow at 2:00. I'm going to give you the saxophone. I'm going to call you for work. And that was it.
Wow.
And I started making more money doing that than working at the bank. I quit the bank, So the point is that, there's more to the story than that. Hopefully one day I'll put it in a memoir.
You should.
And one thing I will say is this, there's a saying that, some people meet their destiny while traveling on a road trying to avoid it, so if it's for you, it's basically for you, and
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And you said one other thing, what you just said about you're at the bottom of one level. When you reach the top of one, you're at the bottom of another level.
Yes, exactly.
As you're climbing up. That is powerful. That statement to me, because number one, it tells me you're very humble, because you're telling me even when you have reached the top, you felt like there was still work to do and you were still climbing to the next level.
Oh, so
that shows your humility, which the story in the beginning that I told just reflects you again. So
thank you. Thank
absolutely.
you. Well, struggles will humble you. And I'm always grateful that I grew up in New York City, where, life was not easy for us. We came from a working class, poor working class family, but my mother refused welfare. She refused all that stuff. She decided to raise her children on her own the best she could, and even with the failed marriages, she married a couple of times and they didn't work out. She kept on going. And I have nothing but memories of just, whenever I've had those points in my life where things may have seemed dismal in the past, I always remind myself when we were young what she must have gone through raising 5 kids in New York City by herself. I mean, then New York City, as you know, is not an easy city to live for anybody unless you're a billionaire. So
yes, I never lived there, but I visited for the first time. And I was like, whoa, okay.
So I'm forever grateful for my mother having that, because she gave me something more than just the fact that she provided. She put that fire in each and every one of us to just never give up your struggle. Just the struggle is a natural part of your success. Without it, you can't appreciate it. So when I get in a cab and a friend of mine, one time I gave a cab driver, I don't know, maybe 25% of what the cab fare was. And the cab driver was great. I was like, yo, man, I used to do this. I used to drive cab. I know what it's like, the struggle of doing that. I understand it. So it may seem to you I'm being a little gratuitous, but I'm reminding myself where I came from, the things I had to do to survive when I was living in Boston, trying to go to school, So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And once again, you're showing your personality. I'm loving Najee.
Oh,
Najee. I love it. Yeah. Let's go ahead and bring DJ 12 in at the right time this time. Hey, DJ 12.
All right. How's it going, man?
Hey, everybody. Good evening.
Sir.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Najee.
How you doing, sir? Good.
I'm fine. And sir's my dad. I'm just 12.
Oh, you know what? Because everybody's starting to call me sir, man. I'm like, huh? Well, maybe I'm getting too much gray here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I mean, more people on daily interaction, they say, oh, how are you, sir? I'm like, sir? Really?
I understand. It's like ma'am for me. I get it. So please don't say ma'am to me.
I won't say it. I promise.
Thank you. Well, everybody, it's time for the KAMDI mini mix with DJ 12. Is going to tease us a little bit with some of Najee's music. So DJ 12, I'm going to hand it over to you, sir.
Well, I just want to say, Najee, I can appreciate the struggle. South Bronx, USA here.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So without further ado, the one you said that put you on the map, the one that put me on to you and has kept me there ever since. Y'all ready? Let's go.
Let's go.
Najee, just so you know, this is one of my favorites right here.
Oh,
Love
yeah?
this. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This one's from Miss Tanya Hawley.
Thank you.
Best host on the planet.
That's Gina, y'all, if you didn't know.
while Tonight I'm Yours plays in the background, I want to, with Tanya's permission, share a little story. About a month and a half ago, my wife and I attended Boscov's Burke's Jazz Fest in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And
yes.
we attend and have been attending for the past 20 years or so, and we usually see multiple shows. And this year, our work schedules only allowed us to go see one show. And the show we picked was Najee and Friends,
Chris Walker, yeah.
featuring Mr. Bobby Lyle and Chris Walker.
Yes.
Ooh.
And what an outstanding show it was.
Oh, thank you.
I am always massively impressed with the things you do. What a great show.
Oh,
But I want to share with everybody, to Tanya's point about your humility, you brought someone out, and it was one of the most touching, heartwarming things that I think I've ever seen an artist do on stage. You brought out Miss Allison Williams.
Yes.
Who had just gone through a massive bout with COVID.
Yes.
And who shared with the audience that you kind of forced her hand because she just wanted to watch from the wings. And she said, you wouldn't let her. He was like, nah, you gonna get out there and sing. And at the end, she got a standing ovation. It brought her to tears because she said that that was her first public appearance and she wasn't sure if vocally she still had it. She still had it. And I just want to say thank you and God bless you for giving someone else that opportunity, because you didn't have to share the stage and you did. And if I remember correctly, it sounded a little something like this.
Valentine, hopes that you're still mine. As if Valentine doesn't need you, it's okay. Now I'm right, thought it would be. Come on, baby. Take my heart, love you still, and I'll always be the only one.
Thank you, DJ 12. Beautiful.
Wow, man, you're on it. That album is being released tomorrow.
The last thing, I plan to close it by showing you, like Tanya said, she got a CDs and an album. Well, I was going to hold up my latest Najee CD because Savoir Faire went home that evening. But my wife must have kidnapped it, so it's probably in a car, so I can't show it to you. So all I can do is tell you, I have it. It's great. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Tanya. Najee, God bless. Thank you. Tanya, thank you as always.
Thank you, DJ 12. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for the KAMDI mini mix. And tell everybody where they can find you right quick.
You can catch me every Saturday on WRTWDB, Raw Truth Radio, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Just tell Alexa to turn it on. My name is DJ 12. I'm out of here. Peace.
Thanks, DJ 12.
Thank you.
Wow, what a nice mix.
That was a nice ending. Yeah.
I kind of just want to. I'm gonna just pull out the whole catalog and start and just go listen to it. It just put
God,
me
you got a week to waste. I mean,
it would not be wasted at all, Najee. Uh,
Thank you.
let's talk about, first of all, shout out to Allison Williams. That's
Yes.
my buddy. Thanks to her, you're here because she's the one that connected me to you.
Yes. Yes.
And we just had an interview with her a few weeks ago.
Hmm.
So just love her. And she's special.
She
Very
is.
special.
She is.
And let's talk about this new project. Tell
Sure.
us all about it.
Well, the title is called Savoir Faire, as DJ 12 said, and featuring Allison. We also have Frank McComb on there.
Ooh.
Two of the songs that we did were actually recorded in Brazil, in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. One is a Brazilian classic by Antonio Carlos Jobim called A Felicidade, and the other one is called Modern Lovers, which featured Frank McComb. And
love his voice.
Yeah, so we have a few guest artists on there. Adam Hawley, produced by Barry Eastman. He produced quite a few tracks.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a loaded record. I mean, it's very loaded, and I'm very happy that it's being released tomorrow, and and everybody seems to be buzzing on it, so which is good,
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure you'll be hanging something on your wall again real soon.
Oh, I hope so. That would be nice. It's time for a change. I mean,
a change. I'm sure it never gets old, Najee. And of course, Allison is on the song.
Yes, she is. Valentine Love.
Beautiful song.
Yeah, produced by Chris Big Dog Davis. He produced that track and came out really, really, really good. She was the perfect artist to call for that particular song. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, thank you for that, everybody. At the end, we'll tell you, we'll leave them where they can get it and all that, because we want to definitely support you on your new project. Your music never gets dated. It never gets old. I'm still loving Gina from 6 years ago. And, now you got current stuff. So that's what I love about your music. I just can listen to it anytime. It's not dated. It just sounds good no matter when. It could be just what the doctor ordered.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Tanya.
Do you have a favorite song that you like to perform, Najee?
I really don't. I think one of the songs that really touched my heart recently was on the last album I did called Center of the Heart. I redid Alfie. I don't know if you know that song, Dionne Warwick classic, but we did an orchestral version with me playing flute. And I always loved that song because every time I hear it, I think of my mother. She played it a lot. I don't know if it was because maybe the song reminded me of my dad. I don't know, but for whatever reasons, every time I played that song, I always thought of her. So
that's a nice warm thoughts. So not really a favorite to perform, but do you have a favorite song? Not a Najee song necessarily, but just in general, do you have a favorite song?
As a musician, it's hard to have favorite song. Over my career, I probably played thousands, probably tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of songs, and you can't, in our mind, the way we think, they're chord changes and melodies, and rhythm, so whatever you're playing at the moment is your favorite song,
Okay.
Hopefully.
Right. So let me ask you this. Maybe this will be a little bit easier, because I know that is a loaded question. It's very hard for people. Sometimes they come with one, and other times it's just too hard.
Sure.
Who's on your playlist? If you looked at your playlist right now, or you got it right there.
I do. Let me just see that. Thank goodness you.
That was an easy one, huh?
Yeah, well, I can pull that up because I listen to a lot of people. Well, Prince has been releasing a lot. His estate has been releasing a lot of recordings, and I recently found out that I'm on quite a few of them.
Wow. Okay.
So
that's pretty cool.
But on my playlist, let me see. I got everything from Jared Lawson to Herbie Hancock to Hank Jones to Doobie Powell, one of my favorite people, to Will Downing, to Prince. Frank McComb live, and just goes on, and Incognito, and Gino Vanelli, Michael Brecker, Herbie Hancock, I said, Layla Hathaway, Robert Damper, Al Jarreau, Marvin Gaye. It just
I love
Robert
it,
Glasper, and even salsa music. I got La India, Victor Manuel. It just goes on and on.
I love it. Yeah. You only got it right here on KAMDI Conversations, Najee's playlist.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go look some of those people up.
Oh yeah.
Because some of them I'm not familiar with. I have to say.
Okay, yeah. Well, when when you get deeper into the Latin side of things,
Right.
and it may be, if you're not familiar with that music or in that world, you may not know the names, but
And so,
if you go in there, you're going to enjoy listening to them for sure.
yes. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
sure I will.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make what I believe is a safe assumption and say your favorite genre of music is jazz.
No, I'm not. I can't say that,
Oh,
because for me, it's just music. I mean,
okay.
it's the world that categorizes that jazz,
I love
or
that.
this or
Yes.
that, and yes, I go into jazz environments and play that, but I also
Mhm.
go in classical. I play classical as well. I play classical flute, and
Okay.
so I don't really have a favorite music genre. I
You
love
don't.
R&B. I grew up as an art playing in R&B bands in New York. So
Yes.
yeah, so.
Well, that's interesting. So you know what they say when you make assumptions. So I'm just saying. I wish I
Yeah.
hadn't said that,
Well,
but
my history as a musician has led me in all those circles. I mean, when I was
yes.
in college, I played in big bands, and that was quite challenging music. And then, I played in rock bands in college. I played, so I did it all.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I have a question for you because I was having a conversation with DJ 12, and
Okay.
we both
Mhm.
know that you can hold a note. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you are in the Guinness World Book of Records for that. But how long have you timed yourself? How long can you actually hold a note
Well,
on the stage?
it's a technique called circular breathing. So
Hmm.
even though people think it's a superhuman thing, it really is not. I'm not the first to do it. Kenny G capitalized on it.
Yes, I
He
believe it.
capitalized, but he's not the originator. I mean, the very first time I heard someone do that, I'll tell you, I was probably 12 years old, 13 years old, and it
Mm,
was one of those nights my mother let me stay up late on a Saturday night watching the PBS station, and there was this band on TV,
mhm.
and they were playing, and they had this sax player, and all of a sudden he held this note for something like almost 5 minutes, and I'm sitting there like, how does he do that? Well, that band was Earth, Wind, and Fire when they first started before they got big, and that sax player was Ronnie Laws. So
Ah,
that was the first time I heard it. Then the next time I heard it was with Rashawn Roland Kirk, and he would do it with two saxophones in his mouth. And then
two. Okay, I haven't
two,
seen
yeah,
that.
yeah, he was a great saxophonist who passed, of course, probably 30 some years ago. But
Mhm.
he was blind, but he was known for taking two saxophones and holding the note forever. And then, of course, John Coltrane did it, Grover. And so I'm certainly not the first, but it's, as I consider myself a very educated, well rounded musician,
Mhm.
but, sometimes you can play things for people and they don't get it until you hold that one note, so,
That's funny.
the stuff that is not normal to hear,
Okay.
but it's a very easy thing, it's, you're taking in air in your nose and holding it in your cheeks and then pushing it out while you're taking in air. And so we call it circular breathing. Yeah.
Oh,
So I can
interesting.
hold it as long as I was required. If somebody told me hold it for an hour, I could do it for an hour.
Are you
Easily.
serious,
Yeah.
Najee?
I've just never done it that long because it's not necessary. But
No, it's not necessary. I
yeah,
mean,
but when I get in the audience and people start, I just hold it until they get a rise. And then I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
they might leave if you hold it for an hour. They might get
yeah,
tired of that one note
exactly.
after it's for an
It's
hour. That might be, you could just do it at home and record it and just,
exactly
just let us know. So
true, exactly right. Mhm.
that's awesome though. But it for those of us that haven't seen that or experienced it is a big deal for us. You say you're not the
Sure,
first, but you're the first for a lot of people that have
sure,
seen it and
sure.
heard it. So to a lot of people, you are the first to do it. So we're gonna give you credit for that.
Oh
So
well, thank
you're
you. I
you're
appreciate
just so humble. We're gonna give you credit for doing it, Najee. So
it. No, I mean it's you got to understand your place in this world. You really do. And that's
yes,
based on experiences. I never felt like I took this stuff that serious. So
yes.
yeah. And
Okay.
also, I have to say, my brother is the one that came up with that thing I shared with you: the top of one level, at the bottom of another. So yeah.
And what instrument does your brother play? You had mentioned him earlier.
Yeah, he played guitar. He
Okay.
toured with Chaka, when I was there.
Right.
He's toured with Jeffrey Osborne for several years. And then he decided he didn't want to be on the road anymore. So he stopped playing. And he
Oh, okay.
produced some of my biggest records like Tokyo Blue and
Yeah, I
Gina.
know.
Gina is one of his
I,
songs he produced.
And
And
which means
he
I just
actually
love your
toured with
brother
me.
too. I just love your
Huh?
brother too because he did Gina. I just love him. That's my favorite song. So
Sure.
I'm sorry you named it that late,
What?
but for you, but for me
No.
it just works.
Well, you know what? I listen, from a relationship standpoint, I have nothing bad. We
That's
brought
awesome.
two beautiful spirits into this world. So all the other stuff,
I
I
understand.
always hate when people come together and they say, I hate her, I hate him because yeah, but
Yes.
something brought you to him or her. And,
Yeah.
I can't believe that they're the worst person. Maybe what you brought together ended up being the worst thing.
Right.
But as an individual, you can't, hold that against somebody, even, so
I love it.
yeah.
I just hear it and I just dream that it's called Tanya. That's what I'll just
Okay.
that's what I'm gonna hear. So just
and nothing else. I got a song out of it, so I'm good.
that's right. There you go. That's right. You got a great song out of
Yeah.
it.
So there you have it.
I want to play this little game with you. I play this game at the end of the show, and we're almost at
Sure.
the end. And it's
Sure.
always interesting to me to see what the answers are. So
Mhm.
what I'm going to do, I promise it's not a hard game, Najee.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to name an artist,
Okay.
and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I name this artist.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
All right. So Ella Fitzgerald.
Oh, legend.
Okay. And you are going to know all the artists. So because at one time I said somebody didn't know, and I was surprised. So I'm not sure you know. Eric Benet.
What can I say? I love Eric Benet. I think he should have been the next Marvin Gaye, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Honestly. I have not, and then there's a lot of great male vocalists out there.
Yes.
But if there was anybody that could have gone that route, minus the drama,
Understood.
I always thought he could be that guy because he had the look and he has the voice and, just a brilliant talent.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
Chaka Khan.
What can I say? We call her, we still to this day, we call her Ma, we still call her boss lady. And she says, that's right, I'm still your boss.
That's right. I could see her saying that. I haven't met Chaka.
That's her. We owe that lady a lot. That's all I can say. We were young kids in our band. I mean, when she hired us in 1983 to go on the Ain't Nobody tour, she had just done this album with Michael Brecker and David Sanborn and all these big, big names in the industry. And here we are with these kids from New York City, don't have two nickels to rub together. And she hired us and played in her band, and that opened up a world of opportunities. I can't even explain to you how. I love her for what she's done for all of it, including Melissa Morgan, who was in that band at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So, yep. Mm-hmm.
But was in Chaka's band singing?
Yes, that's where we first met. She was singing backgrounds in Chaka's band.
Oh, I love it.
I was playing alto saxophone. My brother was playing guitar, and it was of course the other musicians.
Well, she obviously knew talent when she heard it and saw it.
She did.
Yes,
and she was quite protective. I remember we had some issues in the band. I'll tell you this very briefly. And for whatever reasons, the band liked my brother and I to be the spokesperson, the spokespeople to bring the issues to Chaka. But we had this road manager who was just taking advantage of the band financially. And so finally it all came to a head. We're in New Orleans and we're in the quarters and she's staying in this, we're staying in this hotel and Chaka calls us to the room. But she just called my brother and I to come talk to her because she didn't want to get all into. And we give her we tell her the thing. And next thing I know, she brings in the road manager and we tell her, yeah, and she's doing this on the road. And she just went off on this road manager. She was like, my band should never have to do this. I've been a musician on the road for, and there's no way that they should be uncomfortable. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh,
I love it.
Lose her job, man. We went back to the band, told them what went on, and they were very grateful to us, So that's the kind of person she was. That's the side of her that people don't know about. She's very motherly. She believes, she loves you. She will fight for you,
Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's a special story. I love to hear stories like that. Just the stories that people don't know,
exactly.
the person and the behind the scenes. So like I told that one in the beginning about you, people wouldn't know that. But there's a lot. So that says a lot about Chaka. So thank you for sharing that. I got maybe one or two more. And it's funny, I made this list before I interviewed you. And some of the names, I won't get to all of them, but you talked about them, which was funny. Earth, Wind, and Fire is on my list.
Oh my God. Those guys, I mean, when we were kids growing up, we wanted to be just like them. I was in a band called Area Code. At 18 years old, we went all over around the world touring, backing up Miss Black America for the USO. We went to Europe, South America, Central America, all over. And for about a year. And they were our inspiration. We wanted to be them,
Yes.
So I think they changed the music culture from going from R&B right into pop. They were one of those bands that did that. Later on, Kool and the Gang and others did. But,
yes.
When you think of great bands like Zapp and Daz, they were pretty much for us as African Americans. But the band that crossed over was Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
How about Pieces of a Dream?
Oh man, those are my boys, James Lloyd and the guys. We kind of grew up in they started as kids playing behind Grover Washington.
Yes.
He took them on the road. Until this day, they're some of my dearest friends. James Lloyd is one of the greatest keyboard players and one of my dearest friends in the business.
Absolutely.
I one time took him with me to South Africa. We went to Mozambique and South Africa because our keyboard player couldn't make the gig.
Oh.
And he happened to be home. And I said, man, would you cover this gig for me? He said, sure. So now we're sitting up in first class. It's late night. We're taking this long flight across the Atlantic, and he's got me laughing for 10 hours. I mean, the people in first class must have been like, well, these people, please shut up, But what can I say? I really don't think they get their proper due yet. I really don't.
I agree. I love them. They're one of my favorite jazz artists of all time. They've been here. They're my buddies.
Oh, yeah.
The main co-host with me sometime. We talked about that because they're just funny.
Yes. Hilarious.
Yes, they will have you. They're very entertaining. And it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to just do one more because it's that time and I don't want to hold you. But how about Whitney Houston?
What can I say? You know what? She left us too soon, And here's one of the funny stories. And this is a true story. So when my career first started, one day I get there's a message left for me at my management office in New York. I go into the office and they tell me, Whitney's office reached out to you. I was like, huh? They said, yeah, she would like you to come with her and accompany her to some event. And it happened twice. And for me, it was like Whitney Houston. Now, at that time, I had a girlfriend who every time I got in the car, she had a cassette player of "You Give Good Love," So I'm like, this is when Whitney had all the paparazzi following her. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know if I want to get caught up in that game, So I got scared. Never took the offer to go with her. And I just couldn't explain to my girlfriend at the time, like, yo, Whitney called and I'm going out with her, I mean, I didn't explain. So I never took, and I'm sorry I didn't take that opportunity to at least go on to an event.
And you didn't take either.
I didn't take it. No, I never went. I'm so sorry for that because I should have done that, but it would have cost me my relationship probably because, my girlfriend at the time was a true fan of Whitney Houston. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I was like, how do you say, honey, yeah, I got to go to this Grammy event with Whitney, Huh? I never told her, that. But
wait, Najee, let me clarify. She wanted you to play or she wanted you to attend?
No, to be her date, the one that accompanied her. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Our office call.
That went over my head. Okay, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
That's different. Okay.
I missed my chance. What can I say? And then Bobby came and it was a wrap,
Najee, you did really mess that one up. I'm just saying.
So it never went anywhere, obviously. But her office called asking if I would accompany her. I don't remember what event it was, but it was something. The official request.
Wow. Oh,
it was,
Najee, you got good stories. You got to come
I
back.
have great stories, man. Yeah, let me get to Prince, man. Just great stories on him.
No, you got to come back because we got to get to Prince.
Oh, yeah. Prince is, what can I say? I got a lot of great stories, but no bad ones. I always tell people, I want bad stories. I have none. They were none.
You don't do negative. So I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Well, Najee, our time is up.
Thank you.
Please, before you leave, and please don't hang up quite yet when we're done.
Sure.
I need to speak with you afterwards, but tell everybody where they can find your music, where they can download and follow you.
Well, tomorrow my album Savoir Faire is being released, Friday the 13th, and it's going to be on Amazon, iTunes, all the social media stuff. My social media is Najee Official. My website is najeeofficial.com. So Instagram, Facebook is Najee, the official page. And we say that because there's a lot of Najees out there and we've had a lot of struggle with all that. Okay. But yeah, you can find it on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, of course. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody, make sure you download Najee's new music. you know it's good. You heard it right here. So please support him, support our artists. Join me next week when our special guest will be Melba Moore, who we happened to mention earlier
Wow.
as well.
Tell
Yes,
Melba, give her my love. I love Melba.
I absolutely will.
Sure.
So thank you all for watching and joining. Those are watching now or that are watching and listening later. We appreciate you. Make sure you follow me at the KAMDI group on both Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and we will see you next week. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Najee.
Thank you.